Today, Adam began his working day with emails. His interest was piqued by a message from his boss. The email feels odd. Social engineering has many names. Woven throughout this topic is the term phishing. Phishing, meaning impersonating a specific person or institution. We've seen similar examples in the previous episode, where our protagonists received either phishing emails or instant messages. Here, we will present several popular scenarios and elements that are worth paying attention to. After all, scammers don't create these scenarios just for fun. There has to be a payoff. Why did this email result in Adam sending it straight to trash? Look at how it is written. It looks like a translation, and a bad one at that. Let's also take a look at the sender. The name that is displayed to us isn't the issue. This field, however, is a different story. Let's pay attention to this. An extra link. Let's hover the cursor over it for a moment. Does it really direct us to the page we think it will? It doesn't look like it. A simple trick, but one that can be easily missed. Of course, there are many integrations that should filter and throw out this type of email on behalf of us. However, we know this is not always the case. There are many tricks that can be used to bypass various security measures. And what of Adam's conversation on Messenger? Sometimes messages of this type are really well crafted. This is to make them seem targeted and safe, but also essential to open. There are many examples of very large phishing campaigns that appear associated with couriers, banks, and even government institutions. Do you need money during a difficult time, an extension of a COVID passport, or are you waiting for a package that requires an additional payment? On a grander scale, many people right now are waiting for a package, or have recently made a bank transfer that requires additional authorization. Coincidence? No. Chance. It is these chance cases that are preyed on by scammers. Another example is spear phishing, a targeted campaign. In these cases, scammers don't care about targeting on a larger scale. For whatever reason, they focus in on us. With this purpose in mind, they prepare targeted messages that are completely personalized. And I don't mean simply a name or an old password which you once used. That can be obtained in a fairly simple way, but we will discuss this later on. We are talking about a tailor-made approach, using information that gives the sender authority, making them appear credible to us. Let's take a look at another message, one that was sent by chance to our protagonist. Oh my, as if I didn't have enough work.
Jakbym miał mało roboty.
Adam, I didn't email you. Perhaps it's a mistake, or you've been tricked. As you can see, the situation has escalated. Perhaps if the address from which the email was sent looked different, our protagonist would have noticed something was wrong and instead reported the matter to the IT department. You know, the real IT department. Instead, here we are dealing with so-called type squatting. It may sound strange, but in practice it consists of small and practically invisible modifications. You could call it a typo that makes a huge difference. Let's look at some examples. Don't let this happen to you. In many companies, special campaigns are created to weed out such problems. These campaigns, regardless of how they are constructed, show the real threat behind these techniques. Don't have such a campaign in your company? Create one yourself. And analyze the results. You can even carry out a quiz and guess which messages are considered phishing. To finish, let us look at one more example of a phishing attack, specifically a BEC, Business Email Compromise. What exactly is this? BEC can appear in a variety of ways, but let's analyze this one. An email doesn't necessarily have to arrive from a completely different or even similar address. It can appear to be sent from the real mailbox of an employee. This is not uncommon. The mailbox could have been hijacked by scammers through, for example, a leak of data at the time of login. Often, you have to log back in because your session has timed out or a colleague wants to share something with you. Sometimes, however, it isn't Google you are logging into. Malware such as keyloggers or installations can acquire our login details. This is reality. If we, as scammers, gained access to the corporate mailbox of our victim, what would we search for? Rather than invitations to meetings, we'd look for opportunities that could make us money. This was an interaction that included a transfer of money to another account. How much do you think the company lost in our example? At this point, many might be thinking, how did this happen? When we are dealing with finances, we should be much more careful about verifying such requests. Of course, but our protagonist isn't the only victim of such scams. As we can see, this doesn't just happen to small businesses or, more important, with small amounts of money. Importantly, we don't really have the technical means to defend ourselves. What remains is for us to educate our employees and implement appropriate procedures. Each small change or request should be followed by thorough checks. Every finance department should have a spending authorization policy. Any requests made should be subject to these procedures, even if they come from the highest level. It is often senior staff that become pawns in such attacks. As you saw here, the email did not contain any malware or viruses. It was plain text, but could do the same amount of damage.